Hey Go family, what's going on, and welcome to today's Zoom call with Jack Canfield, the Success Principles. My name is Kas, I'm Director of Business Development here at Go, and guys, I'm really excited for today's Zoom call with Jack. He's well known as the #1 success coach around the world. He has coached many celebrities, athletes, and thousands of people around the world. So we feel very privileged to have him today here on the call with us. Guys, please make sure you take notes. You take notes for yourself and for your team members. And if your team members can't join this Zoom call because the Zoom call is already full, please make sure you share with your team members our official social media channels where we are also streaming this Zoom call live right now. So guys, have an amazing training call with Jack Canfield, and I see you on the next call. Have a good day.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. I appreciate it. I'm really glad to be here with the Go Global family today and share with you. I'm very excited to be talking to you guys and gals. I have probably done keynotes for over 50 different multi-level network marketing, direct marketing companies in the world, and have helped literally hundreds of thousands of people double and triple their incomes and have more impact in the world, build huge teams, etc. So I'm going to be sharing with you some basic principles today. I want you to pay close attention, take notes. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things very quickly. If you take notes and review them and put them into practice, that's what's going to take you where you want to go. We always say that, I always teach this: what, so what, now what? What am I going to share with you? So what does it mean to you? Now what are you going to do about it? It's putting it into action that's going to make it work. And I always like to say, you don't want to end up with shelf-esteem where you have all your notes on a shelf, but self-esteem that comes from the confidence that you create by doing this work and having the results appear. So I'm going to use a lot of slides as we go through this. So I'm going to go to the first one. This is a success system that literally never fails. We always say the system always works if you always work the system. And it is a system, which you'll see in just a moment. So here we go. So our main objective today is to learn how to go further and faster in life with more success and less struggle. And basically, this is where I want you to go. It's like cut through the maze, get to the cheese as fast as possible, not get caught in all the things that don't work and so forth. So the promise I'll make you, if you do what I teach you, is you can double your income easily and your impact in the world. You can double your time off at the same time. So think about it. How would you like to make twice as much money, have twice as much impact, and also have twice as much free time at the same time? Totally possible to do that. In fact, it shows that entrepreneurs that take more time off actually produce more results. We'll go into that perhaps a little later. You also have more balance in your life between work, family, and yourself. And then fourthly, actually achieve greater levels of happiness and fulfillment. Now, I usually guarantee that you can do that in 2 years or less. Most of my students do it in 1 year or less. I've had people do it in 6 months. Just for example, I worked with a RE/MAX office a couple of years ago. 86% of the agents doubled or tripled their income in 2 years or less, and the office doubled its sales and became $1 billion franchise as a result of what they were put into practice. Scott Schilling says, I made 22% of my 360-day salary in just 2 days after Jack's course. So 1/5 of his yearly income in just 2 days based on what he put into practice. And he's an amazing guy as a result of that. This is a woman named Miriam Laundrie who says, I tripled my income in 1 year. She actually won a Guinness World Record as well using these principles. So think of life as a combination lock. If you know the right numbers in the right order, you can have anything you want. The challenge is most people don't have all the numbers. You're working really hard on the ones you know, and you're doing it, but still not getting what you want. Because if you're missing one number, the lock won't open. Also, if you have the numbers in the wrong order, the lock won't open. And so a lot of you are doing the right thing, but you're not doing it in the right way, in the right time, in the right order. And so basically what I want to share with you today is just some of it's mindset work, some of it's other kinds of work, as you'll see as we go through this. Now, if you know the combination to the lock, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, young, old, male, female, live in Paris, Texas, or Paris, France. The reality is that this stuff will work for you. College degree, no college degree, it's irrelevant. You all know people that can open a combination lock, doesn't matter anything about race, gender, age, education, and so forth. All right, I'm going to be sharing with you the principles from a couple of books here. I wrote a book called The Success Principles. It's based on 30 years of my experience teaching this work. And then also the Success Principles workbook, where I take 17 of the principles, take you very deeply through. I wrote the foreword to 2 books in the last couple of years. One's called Homeless to Billionaire by Andres Pira, who literally went from homeless at the age of 19 to a triple billionaire by the age of 39, living in Phuket in Thailand. And then also Raphael Badziag, who interviewed 21 billionaires and distilled the 20 principles of wealth and success, which I'm going to be sharing many of those with you today as well. So these are universal principles that, when applied correctly, produce amazing results. So if you want to go deeper, you can always look at those books later. All right, so let's just take Andres Pira, for instance. He was 19, living on a beach in Phuket, homeless, and talked to a friend in Sweden, said, I'm homeless, can you send me $100? That's where he was from, Sweden. And the guy said, why would I send you $100? You were never that good a friend, but I will send you a audio version of a book you can listen to on your phone. It was The Secret. He read that book. I'm in that book. He then got a copy of my book as well, started applying those principles, and now he runs 19 companies as a result of that. Within 3 years, he had his own business going. So again, I just want to confirm with you that this stuff works. So take notes. First principle, take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. Now, you've probably heard things like that before, but notice it says 100%. It doesn't say 99%. How would you like to be married to someone who's 99% committed to monogamy? You'd never know if today was the day they're going to cheat on you or not. And when you commit anything 100%, you no longer have to think about it. You just act as if it's true, and you act. 100% committed. I'm going to run no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, I've got the flu, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go for a run. You don't have to negotiate that with yourself every day. It's a done deal. And so the same thing is taking 100% responsibility. Relationships, we usually go, well, it's a 50-50 deal. Problem is, when it doesn't work out, it's always the other person 50%. That's the problem. And the reality is that doesn't get you where you want to go. So 100% responsibility. We always say 99% is a bitch, 100% is a breeze. So make that commitment to 100%. And I want you to act as if you're 100% responsible. Most of us don't sit high enough in consciousness to know if we're really responsible if a plane crashes into our house. The reality is, who knows? But the point is, if you act as if everything that happens to you, you are responsible for, I promise you, your life will dramatically and radically change. So we're going to delve into this for a few minutes. Teddy Roosevelt, great quote. He said, if you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. And it's true that we're creating, promoting, or allowing the results and the experience, the wealth, the happiness, the health, etc., that we have. So write this formula down. This underlies everything I'm teaching you today. E plus R equals O. What that stands for is our events in your life. You then have a response to that event, and that produces an outcome, which you call your income, your health, your happiness, the quality of your relationship, how many people are in your organization, how many people you're signing up, what's going on in terms of everything in your life. They're all outcomes of how you responded to an earlier event. Someone offers you a piece of cake, you eat it. The event is the cake, the response is you eat it. The outcome is maybe you put on a half an ounce on your body. Different response, you don't eat it. Outcome, you don't put on the weight. So everything that happens to you is simply an event. We make meaning out of the event. We can make a positive meaning, like everything in the universe is happening for me, not to me. Or we can make a victim response, why me, God? Why does it always happen to me? So we want to unpack that so we end up in consciousness of empowerment rather than a consciousness of victim. Unfortunately, what most people do in life when they don't get the outcomes they want, instead of changing their response, which would be the intelligent thing to do, what they do is they blame the event. Blame the event. We blame all these things out there in the world. Your power is in changing your response instead of blaming, instead of complaining about things. And think about how much time we spend complaining. We have Ain't It Awful clubs called bars. Often our professional conferences, we sit around and complain about the company, the economy, the products, the administration, all that stuff. And the reality is that doesn't get us anywhere. Complaining and blaming are responses that don't produce new outcomes. So it leaves you powerless. So your power, as I said, is in your response. The word responsibility means the ability to respond, to change your response, keep experimenting with new responses till you get what you want. What I've done over the years is I've interviewed over 500 successful people, billionaires, millionaires, top salespeople, presidents of corporations, top military leaders, actors, etc., professional athletes, and find out what are the responses that successful people have to the normal events in life. What do they think? What do they do? And we can learn to do that. And that's what today is about. So think about this. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. Event is 2. Your response is 2. You will get 4. So the economy is the way it is. You do what you do, you make 4. That's your income. But what happens if you want to make 5? If you want to make more money, you've got to do something different. If what you're currently doing would have produced more, the more would have already showed up. So you've got to do new things, learn new behaviors, learn new skills, get out of your comfort zone, try something new. That's why you come to conferences. Well, that's why you watch YouTube videos. That's why you read books. That's why you join coaching programs and have mentors and so forth, so that you can learn new things to do to create more. Now, 2 plus 2 equals 4, as we said. What happens when the environment changes, the events change, the economy changes, a recession occurs, the pandemic occurs. What happens is now we got to do more than 2 again just to stay even. So we've got to do 3 to get to 4. And then what happens when the economy does 0? We almost went into a debt default. And so the reality is we've got all these issues going on that happen, recessions and pandemics that occur and so forth. So along comes coronavirus, kind of like a 0. We're all locked in. And so we have to do something radically different. If you were in the real estate world, all of a sudden 5% interest rates for loans, and then 7% if you wanted to, borrow money from the Fed and so everything's going up. So as those things change, we have to change in response to it. AI is now changing everything as well. There's bad parts of that, there's good parts of that. So we have to keep adapting. Successful people are the ones who are the most able to adapt to the changes that are quickly occurring in the world. So again, response, changing our response. Now, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Think about this. Napoleon Hill, if you've not read Think and Grow Rich, run out and buy it. It's one of the greatest success manuals ever written. And Napoleon Hill said, every adversity, every heartache, every obstacle, every failure carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. When the pandemic happened, we didn't talk about getting back to the normal. We wanted to create the new better. All of a sudden, we're doing everything online. And now people are tuning in from all over the world. We have people from like 107 countries participating in workshops. And they didn't have to fly to LA or to, where I live in Santa Barbara or whatever to take the workshops. They could come in from all over. So while there were often negative things resulting in that, we all had to re-scramble and redesign things. There was also benefits. So whatever's going on in your world right now, think of it as the opportunity to develop new strengths, new skills, new attitudes, new tools, if you will, new responses to get to where you want to go. So let's just look at blaming for a minute. You've got to give up all blaming. Think of the things we've blamed in the last couple of years: the economy, high prices, the banks, the pandemic, the president, whichever one you don't like the most, the prime minister if you're in another country, Congress, government, Putin, the liberals, the conservatives, the media, the traffic, other countries, immigrants, competitors, new regulations, our partners, our team members below us, our team members above us, our upline, whatever, the company, our parents, our husband, our wife. If only my parents hadn't been alcoholics, if only my wife supported me more, if only she understood this business, if only the children, blah, 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 blah. All those things, when you're blaming them, are responses that don't work. It leaves you in a state of victim consciousness. And we want to know that there are things outside of our control that you can't really control most of those things. So you're wasting your time talking about them, thinking about them, focusing on them. In fact, you'll create more of having those things which you don't like about it by focusing your energy on it. We know from the law of attraction and psychology and the way your subconscious mind works. But the more you focus on what you don't want, the more you get what you don't want. So you always want to be focusing on what you do want. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Got to give up complaining. Complaining always means I have a preference of something I want that's better that I'm not willing to risk creating. In other words, if I complaining about my wife, I have to have a reference point of some woman in the world that I think is better, that I'm not willing to risk go and leave my wife and go get into a relationship with her, or try to change my wife so she'll be this ideal person I think she is. So we complain, and think of who you complain to. You always complain to the wrong person. At work, I complain about my wife. At work, to my wife, I complain about the people at work. Neither of them can do anything about the other. So it's a waste of time as well. Here's a young boy named Matty Christensen who I interviewed when I did Chicken Soup for the Soul Books. And he was 11 years old at the time. Notice he has no arms past the knee, elbows rather, no legs past the knees. And he's got this lacrosse cage at the end of his prosthetic arm. That's both his pitching hand and his catching glove. He was the pitcher on his Little League team at the time, and they went to the state finals in New York and came in second, with him as the pitcher of all the teams in the state of New York, which were there many, 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 many. And one of the things that was interesting about him was his attitude, which is so critical. He said, it's not an obstacle, it's simply a problem to be solved. He thought of everything like that, simply a problem to be solved. How can I get a creative solution to this? He said, you have to give up all your excuses, and you have to become solution oriented. All anything we're ever asking is, what is the solution to this? How do I get to where I want to go? And I love this thing. You have to give up making all your excuses, because you can either make 1 million excuses or you can make $1 million. It's the choice is yours. You can't be doing both. It won't happen. I want to go back to blaming and complaining for a minute. I was working with a bunch of RE/MAX salesmen. These are real estate people up in New Hampshire at the beginning of the last recession, which I think was in the 2008, 9, somewhere in there. And everybody was down like 30 or 40%, except one guy in the room. And he wasn't down. And I said to him, come up to the front of the room and tell me what you're doing different. He said, it's all mindset. These guys all, when they hear the economy's down, the people aren't buying as many homes, they all start pulling back. They don't make as many calls. They don't hire as many support people. They don't take as many ads. They start thinking it's going to get bad. He says, my belief is no matter what the economy does, I do incredibly well. So it starts with your attitude, starts with your belief system. Your belief is very, very important, because your actions will be in alignment with your beliefs. And your actions also tell the world what you believe. And so they reinforce each other. You don't have a belief if you're not acting on it. If I tell you there's a diet that works and you're not doing it, it's because you don't believe it would work for you. If you believe it would work for you, you'd be doing it. So your action is a reinforcement of the belief to both the world itself and your subconscious mind. And for those of you that are team leaders that have people below you, your actions are a model. What you're doing is actually telling other people what you believe, and it's inspiring them or expiring them, depending on what you do. I want to show you why most people get stuck and they don't move. There's a number of reasons, but here's one. I want you to fold your hands like this, that you see on the screen. Go ahead and fold it. Notice which thumb is on top, your left thumb or your right thumb. And then what I want you to do is unfold your hands and then fold them one more time. What thumb's on top, right or left? And it's going to be the same thumb. It's called a habit. You do that the same way every time. Now, what I want you to do this time is unfold your hands and move all your fingers up a notch so your other thumb comes up on top. So don't just move the thumbs, but move all the fingers a notch so the other thumb ends up on top, the opposite of your normal way. How's that feel? And if we were together live, 95% of you would say uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's doesn't feel good, whatever. You wouldn't want, and I say, what do you want to do? And you'd all go, I want to go back to the other way. So let yourself go back to the first way you were folding your hands, the normal way, your customary way. And right here in this little exercise is why most people get stuck, because they get caught in their comfort zone. When you do something as simple as fold your hands a different way, it's uncomfortable. And so what most people do, and unfortunately in our culture, we're addicted to comfort. And we don't like to be cold. We don't want to be, we don't want to have to make presentations to people we think might reject us. First time we ever speak to a big group, it's uncomfortable. Speaking to people maybe that we think are smarter, wealthier, more powerful than us, maybe reject us. We could feel uncomfortable. But research now from a major university in California, Pepperdine University, has proven that successful entrepreneurs are the people that are most willing to be uncomfortable. So the willingness to experience, tolerate discomfort is a precursor to success. And so we have to start getting out of our comfort zone. And when you first start, do it little by little by little by little. You don't want to necessarily go from not speaking to anybody to speaking to 2,000 people in an arena the first time, but you've got to start getting out of that comfort zone. And so whatever you're doing, and you go to do it and you get stuck, you don't make that phone call, you don't do that Facebook post, you don't send out that email, whatever it is, you don't set up a meeting, invite people to come to it. All of those things are the things that are going to stop you from getting where you want to go. So again, this requirement to be uncomfortable, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, as it were, because everything you want is just outside your comfort zone. That's where all the goodies are. All right. So there are only 3 responses you have any control over in this R thing, this responses. There's your thoughts, what you think. You can change your thinking. That's why it's so important to read books, attend seminars, and watch, TED Talks and YouTube videos, and hang out with people that are succeeding more than you are, because you're getting into their thought space, if you will, the zeitgeist of their thinking. And then there's also the images. What do you visualize? If I said we're going to get up and dance in a minute and I'll do a TikTok dance, some of you go, cool, I'm a great dancer. And some of you would recall an image of you in high school when you weren't, or at your wedding and you tripped or something. And so these images are things that sometimes are involuntary, but we can make them voluntary. And I'll show you how to use that in a few minutes. And then there's your behavior, what you do, what you say, what you don't do, what you don't say. So those are the 3 areas you have any control over. You can't control time. You can control your behavior in relationship to time. You control your thoughts in relationship to time. So these are the 3 things. So we're going to look at each of these 3 things real quickly. So every thought you think, you have to know this, is sending out a vibration to the universe. It's a powerful signal with information and energy. It's like a radio station. You all have cell phones. You can, without any wires, you can make a call from where you are right now to Singapore, to Dubai, to Munich, Germany, to South Africa. And this wave goes through the air with information on it called your thoughts, your voice tone, whatever. And it's got a carrier wave that says it's your phone signal, so they can identify you. Every time you think a thought, the same thing happens. And we now know from research, I have this next slide here. No, I don't. So I'm going to go back a second. So I want to talk to you about this research from them. We now know from studies that were done with NASA that your thoughts can travel as far as the moon. It's about 238,000 miles. They did a study with Duke University, students in a psychology program down there, and astronauts up in the lunar module. And the astronauts at a predetermined time would take a bunch of envelopes, shuffle them, one person, open up whichever one they opened up, record the number, envelope 5. In that envelope would be a shape, a square, a circle, a triangle, a pentagon, whatever. They would then stare at that for a couple of minutes, keep focusing on it. And the students at Duke University who were tuned into them just close their eyes, focus on the astronauts, and then they would draw what they think they got. And way beyond statistical chance, they got it right, which meant that thought of that person in the space module was literally being received on Earth without any electronic aid, just from their thoughts. So we know the signals from your brain. Why is it a psychic in Florida can tell what someone in Seattle is thinking, or someone in China is thinking? Because our thought waves travel. And so they're able to be picked up. And you've been with people and you can tell they're angry, you can tell they're upset, you can tell they're going to buy, they're not going to buy, they're judging you, whatever. So we can pick that up. Sometimes it's facial expressions, sometimes it's the energy of emotion, but often it's the energy with thought. You've all had the experience of like thinking about somebody and then a minute later the phone rings and it's that person. How did you know? Because they were thinking about calling you, or you were thinking about them and that stimulated them to call you. We don't know which one was first, but the point is you guys were communicating as strictly a mental level, if you will. So that's why it's so important to control those thoughts, because they're having an impact on the people that you're interacting with, your prospects, your downline, your upline, your wife, whoever you're interacting with. And so we'll talk about the power of that thought in just a moment. So if you've not watched the movie or read the book, The Secret, I want to encourage you to do that. It's about an hour and about a 90-minute movie. You can buy it on Amazon.com. You can watch it on the internet. And basically, it's going to teach you in great depth what I just talked about, more than we have time for here. But it's a required piece of your education if you haven't done it. It's also in book form on the left there if you want to read it instead. All right. So one of the things we know from research that's being done at a place called the Heart Math Institute, where they're studying not the physical heart, but the emotional heart, if you will, but more than emotional, it's almost like a spiritual, energetic thing, is that when you are happy, when you are in joy, when you are in gratitude, when you're in appreciation, when you're in a state of love, you are projecting a kind of energy that actually has an impact on manifestation of the goals that you have. Here's how that works. They did a study where they took human DNA, they had it in a test tube. I remember at Harvard when I was in a biology class years ago, that we actually did that same thing. I remember my lab teacher was like he was having an orgasm. We have DNA in this thing. And we were able to wrap it around these little glass, stirring sticks, if you will. So anyway, they got this human DNA, and their goal, if you remember, DNA is a helix structure like this, and they wanted to unwind the DNA. So they first did an intention. You all have intentions. Your intention is to double your income, get new people on your team, whatever. But they had this intending for the DNA to unwind. So there's a group of people sending that intention. Nothing happened. That same group of people then stopped sending the intention and just got into a state of love, gratitude, and joy by focusing on things they were grateful for and were happy about and so forth. Nothing happened to the DNA. Then they had the group get into that positive energy space, that vibration, and now send the intention to the DNA. The DNA unwound. Then they had them wind it back up again. But they had to have both the gratitude, appreciation, love, and joy happening at the same time as the intention. So we now know, and you'll read some of the books that are out there, like Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about the first thing you have to do is have gratitude for what you already have as you begin to think about what you want to manifest. That's why we see so many people today talking about gratitude exercises, talking about being grateful, having a gratitude journal, focusing on appreciation, meditating on the things that you're grateful for, making a gratitude list, etc. Carrying a gratitude rock in your pocket to remind you to be grateful. So these are all things that are supportive of you in manifestation. So before you think about, focus on, intend, talk about, motivate your team, whatever, what you want to do is make sure that you're in a state of gratitude. Hang on one second. I have something happening there. There it goes. All right. So good. A little digestive energy. All right. So gratitude, really, really important. So one of the things I'll recommend to you is every day in the morning, take a minute or two and just make a note of the things you're grateful for, but feel the feelings as well. Don't just make a list without any emotion attached to it. And the second thing is you have to decide what you want. So we have to be clear. What is our intention? What's our vision? What are we calling success? And so we know that when you focus on the what consistently, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, the how will show up. Many people won't let themselves want what they want because they don't see how they can get it. Well, the how will show up out of the right focus, doing the right thing in the right way, the right order, as I said earlier, on the what. You all have what we call an inner GPS. In your car, your smartphone, you have a GPS. It's called a global positioning satellite. You have one in your own mind, it's your subconscious mind. I like to call it your goal-producing system. Goal-producing system. I was listening to a podcast about 4 days ago from a guy named Vishen Lakhiani. He took his business from 10 million a year to 100 million a year in about 4 or 5 years. And he was giving a seminar on the techniques and principles for how to do that. And one of the things he talked about was to make sure you spend 2 hours a week Focus on learning something new that's going to make you better at what you do. Learning better sales skills, closing skills, copywriting skills, social media skills, etc. Learning about your product more, learning about demographics, whatever it is, but there's things to learn, reading books, taking a seminar, watching a webinar, whatever it might be. And the other thing he shared is you want to take 1/10 of your income. This is techniques from billionaires, by the way, that he's working with. He had a couple billionaires be his mentors. And take 1/10 of your income every month, put it in an account. So if you're making 10,000 a month, that's 1,000. And that goes toward putting you in places where you can learn more and also where you can hang out with people who are performing at a higher level. Remember Jim Rohn's famous motivational speaker, his great quote that said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And so he talked about spending $40,000 to go spend a week at Necker Island with Richard Branson for this seminar. And now many of those people are his friends and he gets invited to come to their islands for free. But because he invested that money, he put himself in a new network. Remember, your network equals your net worth. So the more you're networking with people above you, we always say you want to be working with people that are networking with people that are above you. So if you're making 100,000 a year, you want to be hanging out with people making 250,000 a year, 500,000 a year, whatever. If you're making 50,000 a year, you want to be hanging out with people making 2 or 3 times that. So always be working your way up, if you will, to hanging out. It's a natural thing. First graders naturally want to hang out with the second, third, and fourth graders. Your little brother always wanted to hang out with you, and you always wanted to hang out with the people that were older than you, and you wanted your little brother to go away. So it's a natural thing, but make sure you commit the time and your resources to growing yourself in that way. I love General Wesley Clark. I interviewed him for my book. I interviewed over 75 of the most successful people for that book, The Success Principles. And he said, it doesn't take any more effort to dream a big dream than it does to dream a small dream. So think about that. You don't have to scrunch up your face more. You don't have to burn more calories. Neurons don't have to fire harder or anything like that. You just simply make a decision, put letter 0 after it. That's what I want. So never let your knowledge of how or lack of knowledge of how get in the way of what it is you want. Give yourself permission to dream the dream you have. Let yourself dream big. Richard Branson, who I had the fortune to meet, said, if your dreams don't scare you, they're too small. So they should make you a little uncomfortable, not freeze you so that you don't take any action, but basically, again, we're stepping out of that comfort zone. So it's uncomfortable. But if the dreams are too small, then you're comfortable. That's not going to get you where you want to go. So give yourself permission to actually want what you want. Here he is, a guy who started out working in a record store that he then turned into Virgin Records, that then he was down in, I think it was Trinidad or Haiti, some of Jamaica, and he was buying some music for his record store, for his record label, and the plane he was supposed to go back on got canceled, so he went around and asked everyone if they, rather than waiting 8 hours, if they would all chip in some money and they would charter a plane. And they did. And he actually made some money off that because he made some profit. And that's when he started Virgin Airlines. And now what does he have? Virgin Galactic Airlines, right? And he's got Virgin Galactic rocket ships. And here he is, having just come back from landing the first Virgin Galactic flight. So again, 51 companies that he owns now. Started out as a $8 an hour employee at a record store. So he can do that, you can do that. Think big. So once you get clear about what it is you want in a big general sense, I want to double my income, I want to be a certain level in this company, etc. And you've got to use the power of goal setting to get you there. Most of you know that. So I want to work with you today to create what we're going to call a breakthrough goal. A breakthrough goal. So we're going to leave here with that. And a breakthrough goal is a goal that would quantum leap, and notice the words quantum leap, not like 20% increase in your downline or 20% increase in your income, but quantum leap, like 2x, 3x, your personal or professional success or the success of your organization, and that will require you to grow to achieve it. I'll say that again, it's a goal that would quantum leap you. I'll give you some examples in a minute, and also require you to grow to achieve it. So here's some breakthrough goals from people in the past. Create my own 5-minute radio show. Worked with people that have created 5-minute radio shows talking about financial success, talking about health, talking about medical breakthroughs, whatever was related to whatever their work was, whatever they were doing. Just 5 minutes, and you could usually find a sponsor to have one of those minutes. The radio station would get a sponsor for one of those minutes. You have 3 minutes to teach, and you get to talk about what you want and lead them to your product, to your service, whatever it might be. So that was what one person did. Write and publish a book. You might say, well, everything's been written, but not by you. Makes you an instant expert if you have a book. Open up China as a market. That was big for us with Chicken Soup for the Soul books. When we got into China, we sold 315 million books, 315 million in China, another 100 million in India. We sold over 600 million books. It's over 500 million books. So you can imagine what that's done for my wealth. And then have 1 million Facebook followers is one of the goals that someone set. Develop a successful online podcast. Have 10,000 people in my downline. It could be 20,000. I have a friend who's in an essential oil company. She has 300,000 people in her downline. She makes $1 million a month. Double, triple, or 10 times your income would be a breakthrough goal. Have a client like Apple, Google, Facebook, Uber. So you get the idea. These are not minor goals. And we're going to have you set a breakthrough goal in just a minute. And a goal, to be a goal, has to be measurable in time and space. How much, by when? Can you measure it in number of people, number of dollars, number of people on my team, number of units sold, market share, whatever, but it has to be something that's measurable and by a certain date. So I'm going to ask you to set the date for this goal to be 1 year from today, so basically 1 year to achieve this breakthrough goal. And I'd like to increase my income. Who wouldn't? That's a nice intention. But I will earn an annual income of $300,000 by 5 p.m. Those who put the time in there, June 1st, 2024. That's a specific measurable goal. How much by when? I'd like to double the number of people on my team. I will increase the number of people on my team to 3,000 people by 5 p.m. June 1st, 2024, or whatever number is what you want, whatever is realistic in your mind. I always say go a little bit beyond realistic, but definitely pick a number, and then by June 1st next year. So I want you to write down what your breakthrough goal would be. It could be in any area of your life. More likely, you want it to be for the business that you're in here with the Go Global world. I will what? By what date? I'm going to pause for 30 seconds and let you write. Okay, good. Now, interesting piece of research from David Cole, a professor at Virginia Tech. He said people who write down their goals earn 9 times as much over their lifetime as people who don't. Think about that. The mere act of writing it down, which you just did, if you were to do that at the beginning of every year for each of the areas of your life, especially your business life, what happens is you're going to increase your earnings over your lifetime by 9 times, even if you just put it in a drawer and leave it there for the year. I don't recommend that. I recommend reviewing your goals at least weekly, and we'll see how we can do that on a daily level in just a moment. But basically, a very important piece of research. And then Gail Matthews up at Dominican University in San Rafael, California, did a study with 250 people, and she found out that everyone had to come up with a goal. The first group they didn't write their goal down. Only 43% of those people acted on their goal and had any kind of success with it. The people who wrote their goal down, as you just did, 60%, so 17% improvement in achievement. People who wrote action steps out, again, 7% higher than those who didn't write their goals down, I have a theory why it's only 50%. Sometimes when people write down their action steps, they then get locked into them and they don't see the emerging opportunities that occur, the things that are, new ideas that show up because they're so locked in with their laser focus. But who knows? That's just my theory. Those people who made a public declaration, who said to a friend, a colleague, put it on their website, whatever, I'm going to do this, another 4% improvement simply from declaring it. And then up to 76%, which is a 33% improvement from the first thing. If they gave a progress report to a coach, to a mentor, to a mastermind group, to an accountability partner. So having someone to be accountable to. So many of you are what we call solo entrepreneurs. You're your own boss. You might have some team people that are above you. However, if you're not accountable to them, if you're not checking in with them and giving them daily or weekly reports on your progress, your activities, your sales, your enrollments, etc., then more than likely you're not getting the value of these progress reports. So again, we talk about the importance of having an accountability partner, and that can be someone else that's at the same level as you. I would always encourage you not to do your spouse, because that can turn into nagging and fighting and all that kind of stuff. But we tend to be a little more adult around people that are strangers and with our own spouse. So anyway, having an accountability partner, and what I suggest with an accountability partner is that you check in every day. We'll go back to that for a second. You check in every day, and what happens is you want to make sure that there's a couple of things you do when you call your accountability partner. Get word back up there again. So what happens is, well, we'll leave it there. What happens is you want to have a daily call 5 days a week, preferably in the morning before your day starts, and you're going to commit to 5 action steps, telling your partner, these are 5 things I'm going to do today to forward my breakthrough goal. I'm going to call 5 prospects. I'm going to call 5 people on my team, or I'm going to call 2 prospects and 3 members on my team to motivate them, or I'm going to talk to the person that's upline to me to get some coaching. Or I'm going to watch this YouTube video about, sales closes, whatever. But actions that'll get you where you want to go. You want to commit to 5 a day minimal. And then the next day you report in, did you do those 5 steps? So now you've got an accountability partner holding you accountable to doing the actions and get you where you want to go. And I'll tell you, if you are saying 5 days in a row, I didn't do it, it gets really uncomfortable. So by Friday, you're going like, I better just get that done. It's embarrassing to have to say I didn't do it again. And if you didn't do it, then you want to start looking at what's the fear that's coming up, what's the limiting belief that's coming up, what's the discomfort that's coming up that you need to move through. Is there a way you can support each other through that? All right, next principle, believe it's possible. Now, belief is a choice. You can choose to believe anything. Think about it. You probably believed in Santa Claus for 5 or 6 or 8 years of your life. And the reality was it was a belief. And sometimes we go, oh, belief wasn't true. But that belief added to a lot of joy, a lot of behavior to yourself that was fun. And so what happens is we can choose to believe anything. And what you want to do is, what are the beliefs of successful people? Successful people believe they can learn anything. They can build teams. If they make a mistake, they'll figure out a way to correct it and keep moving on. They have what's called a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, meaning that they don't fail and then go, that means I'm stupid or I can't do math. It means there's something I need to learn. And so these are all choices that we can make. And so study the beliefs, read the books of successful people, autobiographies, all these help books that teach us about positive beliefs. And so I want you to act as if that you have the ability, that you can do anything you want, that it doesn't matter what the economy is doing, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter where you grew up, doesn't matter who your current network of friends are, that you can actually go out there and make a huge success in the world that you've chosen to play in. I love Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx. She just sold her company for hundreds of millions of dollars. Took all of her employees, gave them $10,000 each, bought them all a ticket to anywhere in the world for 2 people. Very, very successful lady, billionaire. And she says that mindset is the single most important thing you have as an entrepreneur. Work on it daily. And that's the real line, work on it daily. How do you do that? You do that by, again, repeating affirmations. I have everything I need to do anything I want. I'm smart enough to achieve this. I'm happily earning and investing $100,000 a year, whatever it might be. And also, I think meditation is really valuable. If you're not meditating, go online, type in meditation on YouTube, find a meditation you like and do it. Do that every day. 10 minutes would be enough. And, hang around positive people. Watch positive shows. Don't watch the negative news all day long. You are taking in negativity, you're going to be negative. You're taking in positivity. When you're exercising, be listening to podcasts rather than, watching the negative news, etc. Okay. So Napoleon Hill, back to Think and Grow Rich. He said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe the mind can achieve. Well, you just conceived of a goal. Now you have to choose to believe it's possible. And if you choose to believe it's possible, your subconscious mind will start to come up with solutions for how to make that happen. 2 studies, one done at Stanford, one done at Harvard. They found out that aptitude, it was not as important. Aptitude being your ability, your skill sets, your natural talent, was way less important for success than your attitude. 92% of success, attitude, 8% aptitude. Harvard, 15% aptitude, 85% attitude. But both studies showed that your attitude, your belief system, how you approach things, way more important than where you started from in terms of your natural abilities. Anything can be learned and applied. So I want you to believe that whatever you're setting out to do is possible. I love this quote by Muhammad Ali. He says, impossible is a big word thrown around by small people who find it easier to live in a world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It is an opinion. And then he says, I changed impossible to I'm possible. I can do anything I want. I'm not going to let the thoughts of other people control me. Remember, he used to say, I'm the greatest. So again, every thought you think is sending out a vibration. So be careful and responsible. Your level of confidence is contagious. If you're confident that something's going to happen, your team, your family, the people that are your prospects, etc., are going to pick up that confidence. If you're not exuding that confidence, that's not your vibration, that's going to be picked up. So you're responsible. Now, one thing you can do to develop your sense of confidence is to close your eyes and visualize the sale going through, people signing up, your team being excited, motivated, taking the actions you want them to take, everything happening the way you want it to happen. Confidence comes from surviving a risk. If you go out and ski and you survive, you have more confidence now that you can ski. If you go out and you make a sales presentation and it succeeds, you have more confidence that you can do that. You're motivating a team and they get motivated and do what you teach them. You have confidence that you can do that. So you can do that out in the outer world, but you can also do that in your inner world and build that confidence before you go out and actually do it in the outer world. And we can do that using affirmations and visualization. So there's a form of affirmations that I teach, which goes, I'm so happy and grateful that I am now. And then you fill in the blank after that. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now earning a personal income of $250,000 a year. So happy and grateful now that I have 10,000 active people in my downline, in my team. So again, it's not there yet, but you're affirming it as if it's already achieved. And then you close your eyes and you visualize what you would see in the outer world that would prove to you you'd actually achieved it. Like the bank account, your statement in your checking account, your IRS form that you had to turn in at the end of the year with your income, or all your team looking at you in a ballroom somewhere where you've gathered together, etc. And the idea being that this is programming your subconscious to come up with the creative ideas to make it happen, but also to affirm to you that it's possible, and also to then start sending that information out through what we call the internet, your vibrational message that your mind's sending out to the world. So I want you to use affirmations daily. In the morning when you first wake up, have a couple affirmations for your business and for your life. Do it again right before you go to bed. These are the 2 times your brain is most, let's say, programmable, because you're in that alpha brainwave state. I created one year called I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now working with people in positions of power to create a better world. And that year I was invited to the White House for lunch. and I got to go down to where the president does the you call them press conferences. And I got to pretend I was the president, pointing out, to Jim Acosta from CNN and saying, what's your question? I got signed autograph from the president and so forth, picture and everything. So again, as you affirm these things, they become real. So I'm so happy and grateful that I am now. What I want you to do is to go ahead and let's write your affirmation down. Then I'll tell you a quick story about my own success with that. So I'm so happy and grateful that I am now what? What would be an affirmation for your breakthrough goal? Or again, make it specific. Okay. So quick story. I had one. I'm so happy and grateful. I'm now earning a personal income of 100,000 a year. This is when I was making $8,000 a year. I was a high school teacher. I was taking some seminars on how to be more successful. And my coach recommended I create a breakthrough goal. So 100,000, I had no idea how to do that. But I made a $100,000 bill, not like there's a real one you see on the screen there. I took a $100 bill, projected it up on a big piece of paper, added some extra zeros, put it on the ceiling of my bedroom, and every morning I wake up, I'd repeat my affirmation, I'd see the $100,000 bill, and I'd close my eyes, and I'd visualize having a $100,000 a year lifestyle. And I had this book I'd written back then. I was a teacher, and I was also training other teachers as 100 ways to enhance self-concept in the classroom. And I was making 25 cents as a royalty for every time that book got sold. And I figured, wow, how could I, well, I was doing the affirmation, I was visualizing this lifestyle, and then I was in the shower one morning about 30 days later, and I had this $100,000 idea. If I could sell 400,000 copies of my book, I would make $100,000. And so I started thinking of ways to do that, and ways would start to come up to me, and started a little mail order bookstore with one book, started taking ads, started selling other people's products that develop self-esteem. I had 2 high school students coming in after school, sending out books, and we started taking ads in magazines, and I was also consulting on the weekends, teaching teachers how to do this. And I got this idea I should raise my fee. So I went from $300 up to $800. So all these things were happening in my mind. And at the end of that year, I didn't make 100,000. I made 92,325, but that was like 12 times more than I'd earned in my life ever in a year. And I went, wow, this stuff works. And so then my wife says, do you think it'll work with $1 million? So I created a new affirmation, depositing $1 million royalty check for my best-selling book. And then I had a book come out called Chicken Soup for the Soul, changed my affirmation to $1 million royalty check from Health Communications, who was the publisher. And here you see a check written to me for $1,130,328.35. That represented 1 quarter's royalties, 3 months royalties. That year I made $6 million in royalties. So again, these things work if you work them. I already asked you to write yours down, so we'll skip over that. But you want to post your affirmations where you'll see them, put them on 3x5 cards, put them on your refrigerator, put them on your bathroom mirror. Because it's easy to sit in a seminar like this. It's hard to remember to do it. So yeah, what you want to do is remind yourself, the word remind, bring your mind back to that. And then you want to repeat your affirmations. I recommend 3 times a day, first thing in the morning, at night, and then visualize your successes already achieved. One of the guys at West Point, he's their mental toughness training person at the United States Military Academy, has a technique he teaches people, which is have your main affirmation. Every time you walk through a door, say your affirmation. So you go to the bathroom, you come out of the bathroom, you said your affirmation twice. You go to work, you come out of work, you go to your car door, etc. It's just a little way to keep your mind focused on your affirmations. All right. So I'm going to recommend something called the Hour of Power. This is something the billionaires did. I talked about. They all meditated every day. Even this 81-year-old Chinese guy who makes more windshields for cars than anyone in the world. 20 minutes of meditation. And that's when you want to visualize your goal is already achieved. You close your eyes, you look out at the world, what would you see if the world already, if you'd achieved your goal, you say your affirmation, do your gratitude exercise, then 20 minutes of reading or audio learning, and then 20 minutes of physical exercise, high intensity interval training. If you don't know what that is, research it, HIIT. That's the best way to get the most exercise in the least amount of time. It energizes your body. It energizes your thinking, gives you more stamina, and it'll make you have more energy. We did a program for a high-tech company in California where only 5% of the sales force was currently meeting their sales quota. And they hired me to come in and said, okay, motivate every salesperson to meet their quota. So we did a little workshop like we're doing here. But the thing that really put it over the top was this company, being a tech company, had TV sets all down the hall. You can see an older version here, and down the hall, a more digital modern version. And what we did, we recorded just a very short 2 to 3 minute video of people. They had a sales, what should I call it? A sales reward. If you met quota, you got to go to Brazil, to Rio de Janeiro. So that was the sales, award, if you would, for meeting quota. But only 5% of the people were meeting quota. And so what we did was every hour on the hour, we showed a video of being in Rio de Janeiro, being on the beaches, having a good time. This famous statue of Christ up on the hill. And people would see this every hour on the hour in this company whenever they were there. And as a result of that, what happened is that every salesperson in that company exceeded their quota by at least 10%. Why? Because they were constantly focusing on the vision of the goal being already completed. I can't stress that enough. So important. So make sure you close your eyes every day. Just create a little movie in your mind, visualize it. Even if it's vague, you're not like an eidetic visualizer that looks like a 3D or 5G movie. Just do it as best you can, and that's all it takes. That'll make it work. Power of a team. There's a guy named John Hagelin, PhD. He's in the movie The Secret, in the book. He's a Harvard PhD in quantum physics. He says the power of a force field generated by an intention is the square of the number of people holding the same intention at the same time. This has been scientifically proven. If there's 2 of you holding the intention, the power is 4. If there's 100 of you holding the intention, the power is what? 10,000. If there's 1,000 of you holding the same intention, the power of that force field is 1,000,000. So if you can get your entire team to be holding the same intention for all of you, what happens is that intention is so much more powerful in terms of its intervention, if you will, into people's brains and also into the manifestation of that happening out in the world. We jump ahead here to a couple slides that I want to make sure we get to. So you're in the business of asking people to join you. And so one of the action steps that's required, and we talked about your thoughts, your images, your behavior. So asking is a major behavior. We've got to ask, and we run the risk of rejection. So I love this cartoon. It says, I'm going to order a broiled skinless chicken breast, but I want you to bring me lasagna and garlic bread by mistake. So again, asking for exactly what we want. My book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, was rejected by 144 publishers over the course of 14 months. That's a long time. If I'd given up after 100, I'd not be here today. I wouldn't be sitting in a 6,500 square foot house. I wouldn't be driving the cars I drive. I wouldn't have the money in the bank that I have, the income I have, the friends that I have, the travel that I can do, the traveling first class, all the wonderful things in my life wouldn't exist if I had given up after 100. So never, ever, ever, ever give up. And sometimes you have to, kiss a lot of frogs, as they say, before you get that one person. Let me go back to that for a second. So I'm remembering a story. I was working with a guy in one of the major multi-level marketing companies in America. He told me that he made personal presentations to over 3,000 people, one-on-one presentations. He said 300 of those people took the business seriously. And he said 3 of those people made me a multimillionaire. So you never know who that person is going to be that becomes one of your top leaders that builds your business with you, that gets you to where you want to go. So be willing to get out there and talk to people. Question I learned that's really, really valuable, that changed everything for me, that I want to share with you, is what would have to happen for you to say yes? So when they say no, ask them, well, I'm just curious, what would have to happen for you to say yes? And quite often they'll tell you. And if they tell you and it's something you can make happen, then do it. In our case, our publisher that finally published us said, I'd have to know I could sell 20,000 books. And so we went out with a form that looked like this. It said, I promise to buy X number of copies of Jack's book. And we put that on every chair of every talk we ever gave. And then we collected them and we had 20,000 promises to buy. We took those in a banker's box and said, here. And he said, okay. And so that question of what would have to happen for you to say yes changed everything in my life. So use that question. It's a very powerful question, if you will. You know, Howard Schultz was turned down 217 times by banks and investors, but he didn't give up. And if he had, there'd be nothing called Starbucks today. He now is worth $3.9 billion, has 30,000 Starbucks stores in 80 countries, but he had 217 no's from banks and investors before he got a yes. So again, ask. And as we like to say, become an ask-hole. You know, ask people, ask them again later. Their position may have changed, their situation may have changed. They may now need additional income. They may have woken up to the possibilities of what network marketing and multi-level marketing can do for them. So give yourself permission. No, say next. Next person. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Next time, keep on asking. I love this comment from a Girl Scout who sold the most Girl Scout cookies in the history of Girl Scouts in 1 year, over 3,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. She said, so what? She said, some will, Redder, some won't. I mean, some will buy, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. So make sure that you get out there and ask. Take advantage of the law of probabilities. It says the more people you ask, the more yeses you're going to get. It makes sense. It's a numbers game. The more books you read, the more courses you take, the more videos you watch, the more likely one of them will dramatically change your life as well. I want to share this number with you. This is powerful. One of the things we often think about is let's go out there and enroll as many people. But this is something I learned early on when I got involved in this whole world, was the importance of duplication. So if I double every month, this is what those numbers look like. Let's say I have 2 people in my organization. The next month I have 4, the next month I have 8, the next month I have 16. But in order for that to happen, I can't just keep signing up more and more people. I have to teach those first 2 people how they ought to go out and sign up 2 people. And then teach those people how to teach those people not only to sign up, but to sign up others. So this duplication process, if you will, is required for you to build a huge business. So you're training leaders, you're showing them how they can become successful leaders, and you identify the ones that you really want to put energy into as well, but teach them all. And if it took a month to go from 2 to 4, and a month to go from 4 to 8, and a month to go from 8 to 16, in 7 months, you'd be at 128. At 9 months, 512. A year later, you got 4,000. 14 months later, 18,000 people. And in 16 months, which is basically just, about a year and a half, you've got 73,000 people in your organization. Now, that may sound unrealistic to some of you, but that is realistic, and I know people who've done it. But it focuses on education and training and support and mentoring and coaching and third-party calls and all the work you have to do to help them get there. But it's possible. I want you to think big and know that it's possible to do it. If you start to feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't let that get in the way. We share 1 or 2 last slides with you here. Practice persistence. Never give up. Never give up. Remember, 144 rejections. Didn't give up. Michael Jordan, cut from his high school basketball team, came back the next year. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, turned down 12 times. She now makes 203,000 pounds a day from licensing from Harry Potter. Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first TV job because they said she couldn't interview people, didn't know how to interview people. Now, Bill Gates said something so powerful I want you to get, and we'll start to end with this. He said, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So I would change that to underestimate what they can do in 3 or 4 years. But the point being that that first year, you may not get to the level that you want to. And often people give up because they don't have that overnight success. But if you keep doing the principles over and over and over, and you keep working them and you keep learning from them, you ask for feedback, you respond to the feedback, you persevere, what'll happen is all of a sudden that hockey stick curve takes over, and all of a sudden you're amazing. You're amazed at what you did. The Chicken Soup for the Soul, first year, 800, what do we sell? 800,000 copies. And then the next year it was 1 million. And then the next year it was 13 million. And then it kept going up to where we sell, literally 50 million books a year. All right. So never give up. Think long-term as well as short-term. Probably heard this, you got to learn more to earn more. I'd love to invite you to come to my website, jackcanfield.com, learn more about the opportunities we have in terms of courses, books to read, online seminars, and some live seminars and so forth. If you want to get our books, go to amazon.com and read more about everything we talked about. And also, we have this free 10-day transformation. Just go to jackcanfield.com/transformation, and you can get a free, it'll be a digital download, be about a 3-minute video and a challenge for that day, a technique that you're going to apply that day for 10 days in a row. You'll be doing that. And I promise you in 10 days, it will transform your life. I had one of my friends said, he's now my friend, he watched that 10 days and he said, I made $1 million that year, more than the last year, simply from doing what Jack taught me in the 10-day transformation. So take advantage of that. And this cartoon says, oh crap, was that today? So all the things you're be learning now and after I talk, put them into practice. Now's the time. Don't wait. Don't miss the boat. Apply what you're learning today. All right. So I want to thank all of you for inviting me and for the Go Global family for just the invitation to come share with you today. I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best for the rest of your time together. Thank you very much.
Wow, guys, I'm just blown away. I'm really speechless right now. Thank you so much, Jack, for sharing with us. Thank you so much for providing value for the whole Go community. Guys, I hope you had a productive and an amazing call. I wish you guys an amazing, amazing end of the month. Make sure you push until the end of the month, until the last minute, the last second, and help your teams to get started, help your teams to create more volume, and help your teams to recruit new members. And also have a wonderful day. See you guys on the next call. Bye-bye.